So today we're getting into the attributes of love. I know we've been talking about this for a couple weeks and y'all were probably beginning to think I was never going to get there. Well, we are. Today we're going to start in 1 Corinthians chapter 13. We talked about that being known as the love chapter. And in my Bible it's actually called the greatest gift. And wow, love truly is the greatest gift, because if we give love to people, it really does cover so much. It covers a multitude of sin. We've talked about that verse. And when we get love in proper order, you remember we talked about the two commandments, that the first is to love the Lord. The greatest commandment is to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And the second is to love your neighbor. And like we said, when you get those in order, when you really get those things examined and you say, Lord, wow, I love you, and you get all of that properly placed in God, then we turn around and love our neighbor as ourselves, and all these other things really start to take care of themselves. I know some things are work, some things take effort, but they really do begin to line up, because anytime we obey the Bible is filled with order and structure from God. He gives us the design for family. He gives us the design for everything in our life, and when we follow His order, then other things in our life come together and work out and fall into place, because we get Him at the very top and we get that proper order in place. So this is no different when we talk about love. You know, I know that for me, and this is my prayer for you, I hope it's the same, that through this study, in the weeks that we have been studying love and looking at love, really looking at it and then examining our heart. I hope you are. I hope after these lessons you're taking a moment to say, Lord, examine my heart. Let me apply what I heard today to my life. Let me live in that. As I know I have been doing that in this study, I'll be totally honest with you. I have felt at moments a shift in my heart of really showing that unconditional love to people that I know. See, I know me, and I know how quick I could be if I let myself to just kind of, oh, come on, get over it, come on. You know, you get frustrated with people because they're not doing what they need to do. You get put out with people because they're not living like they're supposed to live and they know better. And it's just, I could be really easy to go, oh, come on, just pull yourself together. Well, the Lord has really been showing me and giving me just an extra measure of love for people. And to some degree, it's been for people that I don't even know, people that I just see on the street, people that I see struggling with the situation. You know, instead of making judgments that maybe I would have done in the past, and instead of just getting frustrated with them or whatever, man, the Lord has just given me this ability in these last few weeks. I'm so thankful. He's done a work in my heart to really see people through the lens of His view of them and how much He loves them. And, you know, even people who are doing things wrong, I'm not condoning their actions, but when there's still people that Jesus Christ died on the cross of Calvary for them too. He loved them so much. He doesn't love what they do. He doesn't love everything I do, but He loves me so much. And He's loved me with this unconditional love that no matter what, says, no matter what you're doing, I love you. I don't have to love what you're doing. And I just think the Lord has been doing that work in me. I know, and I've still got a long way to go. Thank the Lord He's not finished with me yet. But I really feel like He's done that. There's been even some situations in the last few weeks that I've seen people, even like friends that I have on Facebook, that are really good, strong believers, and they have kids that are growing up and they've raised their kids in the church. And now I see things in their kids that their kids aren't living right. They've abandoned their faith even. Just some drastic things that I see, and I go, you know, in the past I would have seen that, and I'm just being honest, right? Y'all, you want me to be honest and transparent. I would have seen that and maybe seen it with a bit of a, oh my goodness, those kids, they're just, you know, oh, they're just falling away from their faith. They blah, blah, blah. Well, they are, and it's very sad that they are. But instead of making that quick assessment of the situation, one particular case I was watching on Facebook, a post about it, and the minute I started reading it and seeing it, tears just came to my eyes, because I was broken for people who truly do know better. And that I want to say, come on, you know better, pick yourself up and get going. But instead, it's like the Lord just filled my heart with love for these people, because they're hurting and they're broken. And yes, they may have turned away, but being mean to them and fussing at them and telling them, come on, you know better, isn't going to draw them back into the kingdom, isn't going to draw them back into relationship with God. But the love that I show them is very possibly the thing that the Lord will use to draw them close to Him, you know? And so I don't want to be so quick to make those judgments, right? I received a text from somebody this week, and they were saying that, Kathy, they've been following through this Love Like Jesus series, and they were saying that they were faced with a situation this week at a place of business where someone was fussing at them and telling them they needed to educate themselves on a certain matter, and they were fussing at them and blah, blah, blah. And it really, upset the person, obviously, and they got in their car. But she said she was so much further down the road in how to handle that. She said, I just kept my mouth shut, and I just kept thinking about how much I need to love like Jesus. It's in those situations that our love for people will be tested. It's in those moments when people hurt us and offend us and say things, and they're acting out, they're lashing out, and we're just sometimes the recipient of it, But we can get offended and take it personal and be hurt or whatever. And in that hurt, we can respond inappropriately to people. And so I pray that, like the Lord has been working on me and like the Lord is working in this particular person that reached out to me, I really hope that we're all really able to understand what love looks like and able to apply it to our lives. And the Lord is doing a work in us to tenderize us and soften us up, because I just want to be, soft and mushy in the love of Jesus. For all the times that I don't want to be soft and mushy everywhere, I want to be soft and mushy in my heart. I want a big, fat, oversized heart that loves unconditionally and loves, and loves some more, right? So that's what I want to look at today, or starting into some of the attributes of love. 1 Corinthians 13, we're going to start at verse 4. And let's see, we're going to read, I'll just start with verse 4 today, and so we're going to see how far we get. 4 through 8 are the real breakdown of the attributes of love. But we're going to go through these one at a time, kind of look at the definition of what they mean, and then go from there. But in 1 Corinthians 13 and 4, it says, love suffers long and is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself. It is not puffed up. Now, I don't know about you. I told you that I at one point had to memorize this chapter many years ago. And it's easy to just read through those like a list, like, okay, the verse before it is that I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, give my body to be burned, and I have not love, it profit me nothing. And then go into that list and kind of get into a rhythm of that and just go, yep, love suffers long and is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself, is not puffed up, blah, 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 blah. Okay, yep, thank you. Close your Bible and be done. Well, if we really look at that verse and read it and look at what it means and really break that down, that verse, it could be really hard to do, right? The very first part of that verse says that love suffers long. Well, what does suffer long mean when you really look at the meaning of that? To suffer long means to be patient, but not just patient. It means to be patient with a long temper. Some of you, even saying it made you mad, didn't it? Yeah. That's not a long temper. So suffers long means to be patient with a long temper. It can endure evil. This type of love can endure evil. It can endure injury. And it can endure provocation, being provoked, without being filled with resentment or revenge. You hear what I just said? Now think about that for a minute. Don't let those words just go in and out and go, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, that's what it means. No. To suffer long means it can endure evil, it can endure injury, and it can endure being provoked. Have you ever been provoked? Someone wants to provoke you, to make you mad, to irritate you. Maybe your kids are doing it right now. Love. It can endure all of these situations, but not just endure it. It can endure it without being filled with resentment or revenge. Really? Because, I don't know about you, but there's been a few times in my life when I get into a frustrating moment with somebody, I'll just say it. If I've been in an argument or frustration with my husband and we're kind of at odds about some situation and blah, 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 we're kind of going back and forth, I'm the person in that relationship that I kind of have to work through getting over it. I've let the issue go. I've settled the decision we made, and we made a decision and we're good. But I can't just come back in the room and go, okay, honey, okay, well, where do you want to go to dinner? I kind of have to sit around and stew on it for a minute. I don't know how to say that. I'm not stewing because I'm still mad about whatever. I can't just pop back into that, I'm happy, like nothing happened. I've always been that person who I have to process my feelings. I have to kind of work through it and get over whatever. I hate that I'm that way. Lord, help me not be that way. Help me, Lord, to be that person. I know people that can get in a knockdown drag out, and I'm not talking about those kind of things because really my husband and I don't have those. But when I've seen people who get in those really bad situations, and when it's over, it's like they just come back like nothing happened. Lord, help me. Help me to come back like nothing happened. Help me to endure evil, injury, and being provoked and not be filled with resentment or want revenge. Wow. I mean, that's what it means to suffer long. This attribute gives us the patience to wait and wish for, listen, the reformation of someone rather than fly out in resentment because of their conduct. Did you hear what I said? This attribute gives us the patience to wait and wish for the reformation of someone. We want to wish for someone to be changed and be better rather than to fly out of the room with resentment of their conduct. You know, I would imagine as a parent, when you have kids that totally, specifically turn their back on the faith, you've raised them in church, they turn their back, there's this certain amount of you that wants to fly out of the room in resentment of their conduct. You resent the fact that they are turning their back on everything that you've taught them and trained them to know. But suffering long, this attribute of love gives you the patience to wait and not just wish for their reformation, because we don't wish like we have no hope, but to wait and pray to see them reform, to see them come back. And in that, you sit patiently and you love them through it, and you extend love to them no matter what. The next thing in this verse says that love is kind. So it suffers long and it's kind. Well, what does this mean? This means to show yourself gracious. To show yourself gracious. This attribute, now this is, I thought this was interesting when I was reading through all of this and studying. It said this attribute not only seizes the opportunity to be good, but searches them out. Now, we all would be like, oh yes, well, I don't mind seizing the opportunity to be good. Of course, I will be good. But then do you search out the opportunity to be good? I think about little things like there's been a few times when my husband is going on a trip without me. How dare him? He's going on a trip without me, and before he leaves, like I write a card to him and I tuck it in his suitcase, and when he gets to wherever he's going, he finds the card. Well, I sought out an opportunity to be kind, to show love. I sought it out. The truth is, had I not done it, he wouldn't have known I was thinking about it and chose not to. He would have never known. So nothing would have mattered had I done it or not. But I sought out an opportunity to be kind. Think about people in your life, whether it's a spouse or a child or a neighbor or whoever. When we're supposed to show the love of Christ, it's not just about being kind in the moment when you can be. It's finding an opportunity to be kind. I one time read this little story. It's not something that I know of that actually happened. I just read it in some magazine or something, an illustration they were using. And I may not get everything right, so you'll see if my memory serves me correctly. But it was two people who went to eat at a restaurant, and they brought out this tray with these two steaks on it to show them, we have these, this is our special, these fillets or whatever kind of steak it was. And here they are if you are interested. Well, the one person, there was one steak was a little bigger than the other one, and the one person looked and said, oh, well, I'll take that one. I'll take the bigger one. Well, there's two people there, and there's two steaks, and he took the bigger one. And so they go cook the steak, and they eat their dinner. Well, when dinner was over, finally, the other person asked, the one and said, I don't really care. I promise I don't, but I'm just asking. Why did you pick the bigger one? Normally, you let that go to the other person. We take the low road and let them have the bigger one. He goes, well, I knew if I said for you to take the bigger one, you'd just say for me to take it. So I just figured I'd just take it and save all the rigmarole. That's not quite how it works. We're supposed to seek out opportunities. When it says that love is kind, seek out opportunities to be kind. Seek out those moments. Not just be kind when it falls in our lap, but look for opportunity. I challenge you this week. Look for opportunities to show this attribute of love to people, to be kind. To just be kind because you can be. Right? The next attribute in this verse says it does not envy. To not envy means to be jealous like hot glowing metal. Wow. To be envious to the point that you're so mad and envious that you're like hot glowing metal that you want something someone else has. A lot of that is rooted and grounded in competition. We see other people, what they're doing something similar to what we're doing. It looks like they're succeeding more than we are, so we want to envy what they're doing because they look like they're succeeding, and that's where I want to be. And we get that rooted and grounded in comparison. Envy is oftentimes, I think, rooted in comparison. Well, this attribute will help you not be grieved at the good of others, at their blessings, at their good qualities. I don't want to be grieved when I see other people being blessed. Oh my goodness, I want to be able to jump in and rejoice with people when they rejoice over something that they've accomplished or some blessing in their life. I heard a minister one time say it this way. He said, if you look out into a harbor and there's a ton of sailboats sitting in the harbor with all their sails up, getting the wind in the harbor to push them along. He said the wind comes through the harbor and pushes all the sails that are up. There is enough wind in the harbor to push them all. And if this boat over here, the sail gets some of the wind that it gets doesn't take away from the wind for all the other boats. There's enough wind in the harbor for all of us. So if we understand that God has enough blessing and provision for all of us, we don't have to be envious or jealous of other people's success. I want to challenge you when you see other people succeed, especially people that are maybe working in an area that you want to succeed in. Honor them, bless them, congratulate them, send them a text, send them a note, thank them, or not thank them, but tell them, congratulations, I'm so glad to see you're succeeding. That's what that looks like. The other part of the last part of this verse is simply this. It says that love does not parade itself and is not puffed up. That simply means it doesn't boast or flaunt itself around filled with ego. Think about that for just a second as it relates to love. It does not boast or flaunt and parade itself around with this super inflated ego. This attribute subdues pride. This attribute subdues vainglory, wanting glory and acknowledgement and recognition for what you're doing. And it doesn't parade itself around in conceit. I mean, do you hear what this looks like? I have a question for you. Can you let other people tell their story without turning the story back to you the minute they finish? Do you know people like that? That you're telling them a story and the minute you say your last word and take a breath, they now take that story and turn it back on what they've been through and what they've experienced and how they've done this and and usually it's got to be a little bigger, a little better, a little worse, a little whatever, that competition situation. But this attribute of love is about not having that inflated ego where you can let other people tell their story and you don't have to say, you may truly have something that would rival what they just shared. They might share something and what your experience is would make their story look this big because your experience was so huge. Do you have the ability to sit there and just let them shine for a moment? Do you have the ability to let them sit there and just share their story and you just listen and being humble and not boastful and not egotistical and not parading yourself around? Oh yeah, well, vainglory says, I want to tell you this and I want to show you. Do you have that ability? Do you have that attribute of love that lets you do that? Philippians 2 and 3, I'm going to close with this verse. Philippians 2 and 3 says, let nothing be done through selfish ambition or conceit, but in lowliness of mind let each esteem others better than themselves. We are supposed to esteem others not the same as us, better than us. Better than us. We're supposed to esteem others better than ourselves. We're supposed to honor them first before we worry about ourselves. We're supposed to think of them first before we think of ourselves. Those are not always easy to do. Those can be hard to do, but wow, what a list of attributes. And guess what? We're just in the first verse of these attributes. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 more verses to go on attributes. Oh boy. What a list of attributes. What a place to say, Lord, help me love like you. Jesus, help me love like you. Help me suffer long and be kind. Help me not to be envious. Lord, help me not to be conceited and filled with ego. Lord, help me to apply these attributes. Would you take some time this week to look at just this verse we've read today? 1 Corinthians 13, verse 4. Would you just focus on that verse this week and say, Lord, help me. Help me to suffer long and be kind. Help me to not envy or parade itself around and not be puffed up with ego. Help me, Lord. Convict me when I do it. Help me instantly to know I've just done it. And help me to say, Lord, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I take that back. Lord, help me. You can't do it alone. You're only going to do it through the grace of God and through the work of the Holy Spirit in you. So this week, make that verse your prayer. Ask the Lord to continue that work in you. And I'll see you in the next verse.